On 70, Prabhu.
Okay. All right. Let's start.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. My dear sage, the most distinguished of these demigods is Purandara Indra. He has full power to reward and punish, and he gives the world life by providing rain. Commentary. Purandara is the name of the current king of heaven. 71. He rules the 3 planetary systems for 71 celestial ages, a length of sovereignty no mundane king could earn, even by 100 horse sacrifices. 72. Uchai Shrava is his horse, and Airavata his mighty elephant. His cow can be milked for any desire, and his garden is the resplendent Nandana. Commentary. The king proposes that among all the demigods in heaven, their king, Indra, is the most special recipient of Krishna's mercy. Indra is free to curse or bestow benedictions as he likes, whereas other demigods can only respond to the specific requests of their devotees. The king says, quote, I am just the ruler of a few districts, but the king of heaven gives life to the universe. He rules the 3 worlds for a span of time unimaginable to a small king like me. Theoretically, one can attain the post of Indra by performing 100 faultless Ashwamedha sacrifices, but even the rare king competent to attempt such performances is almost sure to commit some mistake in the course of them. Indra's horse and elephant are greater than all others because they were born from the churning of the milk ocean. 75 or 73. In that garden are desire trees like the Parijata, whose flowers yield whatever one may wish. Those trees adorned with desire-yielding creepers assume whatever forms one may like. 74. Even a single flower from those trees can fully satisfy one's desires, whether for wonderful songs and music, splendid dances, bright clothing and ornaments, good food, or anything else. 75. And oh, how can I even describe Indra's greatest fortune? The personality of Godhead Vishnu has taken the form of Vamanadeva and become his younger brother. 76. Lord Vamanadeva encourages Indra by shielding him from dangers and by accepting in person the elaborate worship Indra offers. But of course, you already know this and much more. Commentary. Lord Vamana is not Indra's brother only in theory. He acts as a younger brother should, allowing Indra the pleasure of taking care of him. Indra insists on worshipping him as God, but Vamanadeva reciprocates by gracefully accepting the offerings in person. Thus ends the first chapter of part 1 of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brhad Bhagavatarmrta entitled Homa on the Earth. Would you like to read some now?
Yes. Divya, in heaven. Text 1. Sri Parikshit said, after praising the great king, Narada made his way to heaven. There in the assembly hall, he saw Lord Vishnu in all his brilliance, surrounded by hosts of demigods. In the first chapter, Narad Muni began his search for the dearest devotee of Krishna by investigating comparative excellence in the devotional service found on earth. In this second chapter, Narada sees the superior devotion of Lord Indra and Lord Brahma. He was text 2. He was decorated with sandalwood pulp, divine ornaments and garments, and a garland made of varied flowers from desire trees. Sitting comfortably on the back of Garuda, he was worshipped with celestial offerings. 3. Brihaspati and other exalted sages praised his glories, and Mother Aditi pampered him. He in turn delighted each of them with his affectionate comments. 4. Siddhas, Vidyadharas, Gandharvas, and Apsaras recited prayers. They cried, all glories to you, and sang, danced, and played music, all for his pleasure. In words that all could hear, the Lord assured Indra that he need not be afraid of the Daityas. Kirti Devi offered the Lord betel nut, which he gracefully accepted and chewed. Commentary. Narada saw the demigods worshipping Lord Vamandev in the assembly hall of Indra, the Lord's elder brother. Srila Sanatan Goswami comments that the demigods were following one of two standards described in old textbooks on deity worship, like Vishnu Bhakti Chandrodaya. The common standard, in which 16 items are offered for the Lord's pleasure, beginning with Padya and Arghya, waters, or alternatively a more elaborate worship with 64 items. While the worship was being performed, the Lord's mother, Aditi, held his soft hands and cared for him in various ways. The Siddhas recited prayers for his satisfaction. The Vidyadharas played musical instruments. The Gandharvas sang. The Apsaras danced. The Lord told Indra not to fear the Daityas, for the Lord would protect him, if necessary, by killing all the demons. As he said this, he raised his right lotus hand in the gesture of fearlessness, Abhaya Dana Mudra. Then Kirti Devi, Lord Vamana's wife, lovingly offered him some betel nut she had carefully prepared. He happily took it between his thumb and first finger and elegantly placed it in his mouth. Seeing all this, Narada was very much pleased. Although he had come to the court of heaven to meet Indra, he was first able to see the Supreme Lord worshipped by the assembled demigods. The worship was appropriate because Lord Vamana is the most important resident of the heavenly region. In this scene, the Lord not only showed his supremacy but also revealed his favor towards Indra by accepting his worship. 6. Continuously chanting the Lord's glories, Indra described with great joy the ways the Lord had helped him in the past. Indra shone forth in his own opulence as he sat on his own throne next to the Lord, shedding from his thousand eyes a downpour of tears. It was natural for Indra, the ruling king of heaven, to have his own throne in his assembly hall. Yet, while his servants stood by, holding his royal paraphernalia, his umbrella, chamara fans, and so on, Indra worshipped the Supreme Lord in the person of his younger brother. Indra loudly chanted the Lord's glories, describing the Lord's kindness to his devotees and his other attractive qualities. Indra then recalled the special favors repeatedly shown him by the Lord, such as the Lord's regaining for him the rulership of heaven, which had been seized by Bali, Daityaraj. 8. Lord Vishnu then proceeded to his own residence. Indra followed him for some distance and then returned to the assembly hall, where Narada greeted him and began to speak. It would have been inappropriate for Narada to disclose his mind to Indra while Indra was worshipping Lord Vishnu. Now that the Lord had left, Narada greeted Indra saying, "Glories to you. Please accept my blessings." 9. Sri Narada said, "You have surely received the Supreme Lord's mercy, because demigods like Surya, Chandra, and Yama, what to speak of the other rulers of planets, all obey your orders. Sages like me are your subjects, and the Vedas praise you as the Lord of the universe, for you bestow the fruits of religion and irreligion." Commentary. The principal demigods, among them the Vasus, Maruts, Rudras, and Adityas, all obey the orders of Indra. In the first of Shrutis, the Rig Veda, many of the hymns are prayers to Indra and descriptions of his glories. These Rig Shuktas, the Aindra hymns, praise him as the Lord of the universe. Narada agrees that this is fitting and, in his own words, gives evidence of Indra's sovereignty, his power to send pious souls to heaven and sinners to hell. How wonderful that Lord Narayan has become your younger brother, born of the same womb, honoring the ways of civilized life. He always treats you with respect. Commentary. Indra's greatness is spiritual as well as material, because the Lord of all lords becomes his brother. Not only is the Lord born of the same womb, but he accepts the inferior role of a younger brother. In that role, he teaches rules of behavior by his own example, showing, for instance, how a younger brother should respect his elder brother. Lord Vamandev submissively does what Indra tells him.
Text 12. Sri Parikshit said, the sage among the demigods thus profusely declared the extreme good fortune of Indra. As he chanted Indra's glories, he played his veena and danced. Commentary. Remembering the southern king's declaration, quote, the demigods are the real recipients of Lord Vishnu's mercy, Narada took this opportunity to speak out on the topic. 13. Indra then welcomed Narada and in a soft voice humbly said, my dear Narada, expert in the arts of the Gandharvas, why are you making fun of me? Commentary. The Gandharvas are clever and tricky. A person well trained in their arts certainly knows how to manipulate others with false praise and ridicule. Indra knows that Narada is not an ordinary Gandharva, but Indra is enjoying in a humorous exchange. 14. Are you unfamiliar with what ruling heaven means? Don't you know how many times we demigods have had to flee heaven in fear of the Daityas? Commentary. Narada may deny praising Indra in vain or making fun of him. Anticipating Narada's objections, Indra here begins to argue against the praise that he is the dearest devotee of the Lord. Narada certainly knows the troubles the demigods have in holding on to their power. The demigods have many times been driven out by their rivals, forced to flee disguised as sannyasis, to hide themselves on the earth, and so on. Indra thus refutes the statements Narada heard from the king that the demigods, on the strength of their good fortune, live in the realm of heaven and act and travel however they like. 15. One of them, Bali, once even took over as Indra. He appointed demons to all the posts like sun god and moon god and took for himself my shares of sacrifice. Commentary. Narada has just told Indra, quote, the sun god and other rulers of planets obey your orders. To counter this, Indra questions the value of the demigods' controlling power, which the demigods are always in anxiety of losing. He also questions whether he is actually glorified by having such uncertain rulers as his order carriers. Indra ashamedly remembers how he almost died from hunger and thirst while Bali usurped and enjoyed Indra's shares of sacrifice. Indra thus responds to the southern king's statement, quote, their food is the nectar of immortality, end quote. 16. Our father and mother then performed many severe austerities by which they satisfied the Supreme Lord Achyuta. The Lord responded by appearing as my brother in a mere partial expansion of himself. Commentary. Indra makes light of the Lord's reciprocation with him, since the Lord answered the request of Indra's parents only after some delay, and then was unwilling to manifest himself fully in his original form. 17. And even then, instead of killing those enemies, he only embarrassed me, returning my kingdom after taking it from Bali with a deceptive request for charity. Commentary. An aristocratic lord like Indra might well feel demeaned by such treatment. Instead of fighting for the demigod's rightful property in an honorable way, Lord Achyuta resorted to tricks. He disguised himself as a dwarf, asked Bali for just as much land as 3 of his steps could cover, and then when he obtained that charity on a pretext, made himself larger than the universe. 18. We residents of heaven are tainted with faults like rivalry and jealousy. For such acts as killing brahmanas, we get entangled in the reactions of sin, and we live in constant fear of losing our posts. So what happiness do we truly enjoy? Commentary. The southern king had said that the demigods are always worshipable by men. He had cited several reasons for this, but here Indra answers. He refutes the statement that the demigods are fixed in goodness by reminding Narada that they are quarrelsome. He defeats the statement that they are sinless by recalling how he killed Vritra, Vishvarupa, and others. And he dismisses that their, quote, bodies are effulgent, end quote, by pointing out that the opposite is true because the demigods constantly anticipate some fall from their positions. As Lord Krishna commented to his friend Uddhava, Konvarta sukayatyenam kamo vamrityurantike aghatam niyamanasya vajyasyeva nitushtidaha. Quote, death is not at all pleasing, and since everyone is exactly like a condemned man, being led to the place of execution. What possible happiness can people derive from material objects or the gratification they provide? End quote. Bhagavatam 11, 10, 20. Therefore, according to Indra, the demigods are undeserving of worship because they are hardly better than ordinary men. 19. You must also know that my brother, Lord Upendra, intentionally disregarded me by taking from heaven the Sudharma hall and the Parijata flower and bringing them to earth. Commentary. Here Indra refutes the claim that among the demigods he has the special favor of the Lord. The Supreme Person, whom Indra knows as his brother Upendra, appeared on earth in his original identity, Sri Krishna, to favor the Yadus and his wives in Dvaraka. Sri Krishna. To favor the Yadus and his wives in Dvaraka, Krishna removed from heaven the Sudharma assembly hall and the Parijata, the flower that grows only on Indra's realm. These affronts were particularly intolerable because Krishna brought the Sudharma and Parijata to Dvaraka on earth, a planet of lesser beings where death is prominent. The imperishable Sudharma and Parijata should not have been subjected to such indignities. Narada had used Indra's possessing the Parijata flower as a reason for praising him, but Indra retorts that he has only been embarrassed because of the flower. Krishna's having stolen these two treasures proves that Krishna is more favorable to the devotees in Dwaraka than to Indra, whom he does not hesitate to shame. For a devotee to feel dissatisfied with himself is a natural part of devotional service. Indra expresses humility, natural humility here, and the other Vaishnavas Narada will speak similarly. Each devotee thinks that Lord Krishna only seemingly favors him, but really acts to satisfy devotees who are dearer. When someone praises a devotee for being a recipient of Lord Krishna's mercy, the devotee normally tries to refute the praise. But even if he sometimes doesn't, for that we should not fault him. Devotees speak from the transcendental humility of pure devotion, and the most intimate devotees sometimes speak from the transcendental anger called pranaya rosha. In any case, the devotees can never conclusively prove that Krishna does not favor them, because the opposite is true. He is actually pleased with them. Text 20. He ruined the worship the cowherds had been offering me for many years, and he burned down my favorite forest, the vast Khandava. Commentary. Krishna persuaded the cowherds of Braja, headed by Nanda Maharaj, to worship Govardhan Hill with the offerings collected for Indra's yajna. And to cure Agni of a stomachache, Krishna destroyed Indra's Khandava forest with the help of Arjuna, Indra's own son. 21. When the Lord was entreated to kill Vritra, who was devouring the three worlds, the Lord responded indifferently, merely sending me on his behalf. Commentary. Indra's killing of Vritra, described in the hymns of the Rig Veda, occurred when the planets were being formed by Brahma and his assistants. Vritra had interfered with the universal construction by keeping the oceans trapped inside mountains. The sages of the Rig Veda glorify Indra profusely for killing Vritra, thus freeing the waters of the universe. But here Indra belittles the incident. The sixth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam discloses that Vritra, under his demonic exterior, was a pure Vaishnava. Indra's killing him was more tragic than glorious. Would you like to read?
So, Prabhu, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused. Like when somebody says that, wow, Prabhu, you're so like you have the mercy of Krishna. You have the mercy of the acharyas. But here it says that normally tries to refute the praise.
Yeah.
But like the thought which came to my mind was, shouldn't we actually feel grateful and say, it's all Krishna's mercy?
Yeah.
Or should we say, well, we don't, no, we've not got any mercy. Others have got the mercy.
Well, here the Kopi Pranadana Prabhu is saying that sometimes the devotee may not also refute it, and we should not see that as a fault, because they're speaking still from humility. And I think we see devotees often, because sometimes if you protest, then you actually invite more glorification. Often that's the result. If you try to protest when somebody's praising you, then their reaction is usually to even try to glorify you more, which is not what a devotee wants to hear. So sometimes they may just kind of accept it and say, anyway, whatever good qualities I have are simply due to the blessings of my spiritual masters, like that famous bhajan of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, and then he says, your mercy is all that I am made of. Everything I am is your mercy, Gurudev. So usually we hear devotees respond like that, but it's a major plot element that the devotees are deflecting the praise, because that's another attitude, is that devotees think that what mercy have I received, really? If I really had mercy, the mercy of the Lord, if I really had received the mercy of the Lord, if the Lord had been merciful to me, then my position would be much greater than it is now, spiritually speaking. Like, I would be crying when I chant his names, and I would always be thinking about him. So devotees generally tend to think very little of themselves, even in terms of their spiritual accomplishments. Like there's one other bhajan, I'm pretty sure this is Narottam Das Thakur, he says, "O Radha Krishna, please do not push me away from your lotus feet. Please do not push me away." And elsewhere he says, I think this is Narottam Das Thakur, but I could be wrong. "O Mahaprabhu, if you are really Patita Pavan, then you should save me first, because I'm the most fallen. So if you're actually Patita Pavana, then I'm the most fallen, and you should save me first. But why are you saving everyone else first?" So even though they've attained such a high level of bhakti, still they're feeling like they haven't gotten anything. Because that's the nature of bhakti, is it's unlimited, and even we just get one drop, and it's more than we can properly take in, So the devotees always seeing others as being more dear to Krishna, doing more service for Krishna. So in that mood, these persons are saying, what am I? I'm not special. I haven't hardly gotten any mercy. Look at Lord Indra, or look at Lord Brahma, or look at, and then it goes on and on and on up to the gopis. What do you think, Prabhu?
Yeah, so I think if the question is asked, wow, or if there's a praise to me or to a devotee, then I see that point that like, no, I'm really nothing. Like I have a long way to go, and
Yeah.
there's a lot which I need to do. So that point I agree, but the point
Yeah.
when somebody says like, you really have Krishna's mercy on you, like whatever is happening, like I really feel like whatever is happening, good or bad, it's all Krishna's mercy.
Mm.
So in one way, if you say, well, do you have Krishna's mercy? Like I would say, yeah, I have Krishna's mercy.
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's a question of mood also, and I think that in a certain sense, it's always favorable to like they say, count your blessings, to see how the Lord is being merciful to us. But at the same time, for the sake of keeping a progressive attitude, it's also helpful to see the gaps, like in terms of our own attainment of real bhakti, a life of real devotion to Krishna. And so when we look at our spiritual masters and our acharyas and the personalities from Srimad Bhagavatam, that's what real mercy of Krishna looks like, is prema. That's the real mercy of the Lord, is when he actually accepts you as his eternal servant, and that and that he becomes he actually will become subordinate to you, that he will allow himself to be controlled by your love, the love which he has given to you, that allows you to control him. That's real mercy. It's like, because normally in the material sense we think of mercy as like
You want to find a screwdriver?
maybe downstairs. I can help you find in 15-20 minutes if you can't find one downstairs.
Okay, you promise?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
So we look at our material life, or like purification, the blessings in our material life in terms of material stability, our children, and so on, different things in our life. But this really isn't the mercy of Krishna. And it is, of course it is, but it's like, the real mercy is bhakti, prema bhakti, even purification. Even we can be decorated with all good qualities, but if we aren't decorated with prema, what are these qualities really? So that's the realization that must be there in order to genuinely feel like we haven't gotten mercy, and not let it become like a mode of ignorance kind of depression, like woe is me, I'm so fallen, I can't even chant my rounds, kind of attitude that you sometimes see in devotees, which is a material thing. But this is a spiritual depression, like a spiritual longing, that I haven't received the mercy of the Lord. Here I'm in this movement of, this is also this one of Prabhupada's favorite bhajans. What is that one? The Sankirtan movement has come, but why have I not participated in it yet? It's Narottam Das Thakur. I can't think of the first line. But I'll find it and share it with you. Narottam Das Thakur is saying, the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya has come, but somehow I haven't managed to participate in it. How can we fathom that? This is Narottam Das Thakur. He's like such an acharya, but he has this mood because what does it mean to really love Krishna, to really receive the mercy of Krishna? It means Krishna is in love with you, and wants to be with you. And so then, so it's a very high thing. Those are some of my thoughts anyways. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like the progressive, that like we always take stock of where we are, and we try to aim to reach the highest, while being grateful for what we have,
Yes.
and always remembering that Krishna is always looking upon us.
Yeah. That reminded me of one other thing, if I can say, that Braja Bhakti is characterized by lobha, greed. You can't really have Braja Bhakti without there being this undercurrent of greed. And greed means, you acknowledge what you have, but you want more. You need more.
And I think the other point is greed not for us, but
Exactly.
greed that we want to serve more. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not
material
self-centered. Yeah. They're not actually drawing attention to themselves. If you notice, when they say, I haven't received mercy, it's not that then they go talking, it seems like they're talking about themselves, but they're actually glorifying other Vaishnavas in this kind of self-deprecating talk. the intention is to glorify the other Vaishnavas. So it's different than like a mundane kind of depression or kind of lamentation, which is
So,
important.
so would you say that Indra here is aiming for prema bhakti, and that's why he is
Yeah,
deflecting? Okay.
yeah, I think so. I think so, and also you could say, which this will come up later on in this book. I can't remember if it's the first part or second part, but Narada speaks about this relationship between prema and dainya, humility. So even if we were to say that Indra's attained perfection, I don't know. I can't say at this point. Like, I'm not sure. I haven't seen a commentary on this. Like, he has Vamanadev living with him, so that's pretty special, you know.
Yeah.
So let's say he's, even if he's already attained prema, still the nature of prema is that it's always appears along with humility, which Narada compares to like a sister, like a younger sister that's always following after the older sister. So humility or dainya is always accompanying prema, which means that, and they actually nourish one another, that as the humility increases, the prema increases. As the prema increases, the humility increases. So it's in that mood also that it's out of this humility that Indra is saying, and these all the devotees from the Brahmana to the king to Indra, and we'll keep seeing, one after the other, each devotee will follow this same line of this same mood of, what am I? I'm not such a great devotee, actually. You shouldn't be glorifying me, actually. It looks like I've received mercy of the Lord, but actually, if you look at these other devotees, you'll see that compared to them, I've got nothing. And it's
And this
pleasing. It's
comparison,
pleasing to Krishna.
and this comparison is not like the material comparison where we're comparing
Exactly.
like, oh, this person has a bigger house than you, for
Yeah.
example. Like we're
Yeah.
comparing because we're saying, well, these devotees have have more mercy because they have the ability to serve more
Yeah.
in prema.
They're doing more service. They have more love. Yeah. They're dearer to the Lord. They are dearer
Mhm.
to the Lord because they love the Lord more than I do.
So Prabhu, when we come to the point of the gopis, right? Like Narada is now
Yeah.
speaking to the gopis, what do they say?
We'll have to get there and find out.
Well, we get there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but
Okay.
it concludes with the position of the gopis and the position of
Like
Radharani.
so are they humble? Like is Srimati Radharani humble? Well, of course she's humble, but
Yeah,
I'm very interested to know like how does she answer that? Or does she
yeah,
also deflect and say, well,
yeah.
I'm not
It's exciting. Great. Now we've got some very much eagerness, lots of eagerness to
yeah,
progress. Good. Thank you
okay.
for bringing up that point. It's important. You're right, because it can be very bewildering, and it often we mistake the material form of humility and like self-deprecation as like a expression of bhakti, but it's not actually. This is a different thing. So it's subtle.
Okay. So are we on 21 or 22?
We did 21, now
Okay,
22.
22. I'm reading, right?
Yes.
Okay. 22. With no regard for me, he destroyed my capital, Amaravati, and built a new residence above all others for himself. Commentary. Indra alludes here to an incarnation of Lord Vishnu named Vaikuntha, whom Srila Shukdev Goswami describes in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 8.5.4 to 5. Patni Vikunta Shubrasya Vaikunthaishura Shatma Satamai Tayo Swapalaya Jagne Vaikuntho Bhagavan Swayam Vaikuntha Kalpito Yena Loka Loka Namaskrita Ramaya Prarthayamanena Devya Tatpriya Kamyaya. From the combination of Shubra and his wife Vikuntha, there appeared the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vaikuntha, along with demigods who were his personal plenary expansions. Just to please the goddess of fortune, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vaikuntha, at her request, created another Vaikuntha planet which is worshipped by everyone. The eternal spiritual planet Lord Vaikuntha, manifested within the material world, is called Ramapriya, dear to the goddess of fortune. It is located above all other planets, even Lord Brahma's. Strictly speaking, this spiritual kingdom displayed within the material universe is never created or destroyed, but because from our point of view the planet Ramapriya appeared at a certain time and place, we considered it new compared with the eternal manifestation of the same kingdom of God outside the material realm. The Lord may pretend to create, in quotes, it as his pastime, but he is only unveiling before material eyes what normally cannot be seen in this world. Indra also mentions the incarnation Vaikuntha in Sri Hari Vamsha 270:37. Speaking after Sri Krishna stole the Parijata flower and defeated him in battle, Indra says, Idam bhangtva madhyam cha bhavanam Vishnuva Vish- Vishnuna kritam upari upari lokanam adhikam bhuvanam mune. O sage, Lord Vishnu sacked my capital city and then built a new planet above all others. As described in the eighth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Vaikuntha appeared during the period of the fifth Manu, Raivata. This was a long time before our speaker Purandara assumed the post of Indra. Srila Sanatana Goswami presents two possible explanations of how Indra could have met Lord Vaikuntha. Either the avatar mentioned in the eighth canto is an earlier one and met Indra on a previous day of Brahma, or during the fifth Manvantara, Lord Vaikuntha only conceived the idea of his new planet, Kalpito Yena Loka, but constructed it later, during the seventh Manvantara, now current. 23. He accepts our worship on the strength of our parents' devotion and at the insistence of my priest. And then, after taking our offerings, he at once disappears, returning to his own abode. Commentary. Narada might have suggested to Indra that he consider how kind the Lord is no matter what the Lord does. After all, the Lord's mind, being deeper than a million oceans, cannot be fathomed, and so his pastimes are inconceivable. Because the distress of others causes him great anxiety, he always shows compassion in whatever way he can. Indra should try to understand in this higher sense Lord Vamana's apparent neglect of him. That is all right, Indra replies in this verse. The Lord would indeed be showing me his compassion if he would just stay here with me permanently, accepting my worship. Then I could tolerate everything else he does. But much of the time he doesn't even let me see him. Indra's parents, Kashyapa and Aditi, intensely worshipped Lord Vishnu in their previous lives, and they continue to worship him now. Indra's priest, Brihaspati, is also an enthusiastic worshipper of Vishnu. Indra reasons, therefore, quote, when the Lord appears in order to take my offering, he does not he does so not from compassion for me, but to reciprocate with the devotion of others. And in any case, he stays only long enough to take his offerings and then goes away. Unquote. This answers the southern king's statement that Lord Vishnu accepts in person the elaborate worship Indra offers. 24 and 25. Then he suddenly comes back. I tell him, in quote, we are very much obliged to you for accepting our offerings of argya, unquote. But he cunningly replies, quote, whenever I am not here to accept your offerings, you may worship Brahma or Shiva instead. Indeed, both of them are non-different from me. 26. Quote, according to scriptural statements, the three deities, Rudra, Vishnu, and Brahma, are embodiments of the same supreme being. Have you forgotten? Unquote. From Indra's standpoint, these words are simply deceitful. Sri Vaman Dev knows very well that Indra is attracted to worshipping only the Supreme Lord. Yet he teases Indra by quoting from scripture, trying to persuade him to worship someone else. When Indra, compelled by the reverence he feels for Lord Vamana, is forced to honor his request. Thus, we see that sometimes festivals are held in heaven for worshipping Lord Shiva. 27. We cannot be certain where he lives. His abode is unapproachable, difficult for even sages to attain. Sometimes he is in Vaikuntha, sometimes on Dhruva's planet, and sometimes within the ocean of milk. Commentary Narada might ask, quote, then why don't you join your lord? Unquote. Indra answers that he is unsure where the Lord is. He might be in Vaikuntha, beyond the material world, or else on the Vaikuntha planet Ramapriya inside this universe. He might be on Dhruva's planet known as Vishnupada, or he might be on the island of Shvetadvipa in the ocean of milk. That's 28. And now he's in Dwarka. But even about this, there is no certainty. Sometimes he goes from there to the house of the Pandavas, and sometimes to Mathura. 29. In Mathura, furthermore, he is sometimes in the city and sometimes wandering in Gokula from forest to forest. So it is difficult for us to see him. What to speak of obtaining his mercy? Hmm. Commentary. Indra should be able to see Sri Krishna very easily because when Indra speaks this verse, Krishna is appearing on earth. But the appearance of Sri Krishna is very confidential. Indra has difficulty understanding why the Lord he knows as his brother descended to earth. Sri Hari Vamsha 269 states that when Narada had come previously as Krishna's messenger to ask Indra for the Parijata flower for Queen Satyabhama, Indra had expressed concern that his brother Krishna seemed to have seemed to have become degraded by the association with the residents of earth. In particular, Indra thought that Krishna was coming too much under the control of women. Indra is confused by Krishna's constant wandering on earth. The Lord spends a short time in Gokul, sporting in Mahavan, Vrindavan, and other forests. He then lives a few years in Mathura and finally settles down in Dwarka. Still, from there he constantly travels to Mithila, Hastinapur, to visit the Pandavas, and also back to Vrajbhumi. Krishna does in fact sometimes return from Dwarka to Vrindavan, as the residents of Dwarka testify. Yahi ambujak-shapashasharabho bhavan kurun madhunvatar shuraddidrapshaya tatrabdhakoti pratimakshano bhavet ravin vinakshor ivanastavachuta. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavan, or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like a million years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless as if bereft of the sun. Bhagavatam 1:11-9. Thirdly,
Sure, Prabhu, go ahead.
but you should know, O best son of Brahma, that your own father is the true recipient of the favor of Lord Hari. He is directly the son of Lord Vishnu, the husband of Lakshmi. Commentary. The four Kumaras, headed by Sanaka, are senior to Narada by age, as are several other sons of Brahma. But Narada is superior by virtue of his pure devotion to Lord Lakshmi Kanta. But even better than the best son is the father, born not from Mother Lakshmi's womb, but directly from the navel of the Supreme Person. Like to read, Prabhu?
Sure. 31. In one day of Brahma, 14 Indras like me come and go, along with different sets of Manus and all the demigods. That one day equals 1,000 cycles of earthly ages. 32. According to the scriptures, Brahma's night is of the same duration. 360 of such days and nights make one of his years, and his life lasts 100 years. Commentary. 14 times in each day of Brahma, different Indras, sages, demigods, Manus, sons of Manu, and special incarnations of the Supreme Lord come and go. Manvantaram Manordeva Manuputra Sureshwaraha Rishayom Shavatarascha Hare Shadvidham Uchate. In each reign of Manu, 6 manifestations of Lord Hari appear. Indra, the chief demigods, the ruling Manu, the sons of Manu, the great sages, and the partial incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavatam 12:7-15. Purandara Indra has heard about all this but is too short-lived to have realized it directly. 33. He is the creator of the planets and the rulers he assigns them. He is the world's chief protector, the dispenser of the fruits of karma, and at the onset of his night, the destroyer of the world. 34. The Mahapurusha, the thousand-headed form of the Lord, is always directly visible on Brahma's planet, personally accepting the countless oblations offered him, and thus always giving delight to his devotees. Commentary. At the beginning of each day of his life, Lord Brahma appoints qualified candidates to serve as Indra, the sages, the Prajapatis, and other demigods. Also, he protects the universe from chaos by establishing Vedic sacrifice and the social laws for individual classes of human beings. Thus, Brahma not only creates the universe, but maintains it as well. Indra also says that he destroys it, because when Lord Brahma goes to sleep at night, a break in his meditation partially devastates the universe. When Hiranyakashipu worshipped Brahma with the demonic aim of subverting the universal order, he glorified Brahma similarly. Kalpante kalashishtena yondhena tamasavritam abhivyanag jagad idam swayam jyoti swarochisha atmana trivrita chedam srijat yavati lumpati raja Sattvatamodhamne paraya mahate namaha. Quote, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord within this universe. At the end of each day of his life, the universe is fully covered with dense darkness by the influence of time. And then again, during his next day, that self-effulgent Lord, by his own effulgence, manifests, maintains, and destroys the entire cosmic manifestation through the material energy, which is invested with 3 modes of material nature. He, Lord Brahma, is the shelter of those modes of nature, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamagun. Bhagavatam 7:3, 26-27. Living together with Brahma on his planet is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord called the Mahapurusha. He is the 1,000-headed first incarnation, Mahavishnu, whose further expansion is Karbhodakashayi Vishnu. Both of these forms are described in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 1st and 2nd cantos. Adyo Vatara Purusha Parasya. Quote, the first descent of the Supreme into the material world is the Mahapurusha, Bhagavatam 2.6.42. Jagre Parusham Rupam Bhagavan Mahad Adibhihi Sambhutam Sodasha Kalam Adau Loka Sisrikshaya. Quote, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universe. Yasyambasi shayanasya yoga nidram vitanvataha nabhi bridam bujadasid brahma vishvasrijam patihi. Quote, as part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. Lotus stem, from the lotus flower atop the stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers of the universe, becomes manifest. Yasyavayava samsthanai kalpito lokavistaraha tadvai bhagavato rupam vishuddham sattvam urjatam. It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purusha, but he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence par excellence. Pashyantyado rupam adabhra chakshusha sahasrapado bhujananadbhutam sahasramurdha shravanakshinnasikam sahasramalyam varak kundalo lasat. The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. Etannanavataranam nithanam bijamavyayam yasyam sham shena srijyante devatiryanaradayaha. This form of the source is the source and indestructible seed of all multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created. Bhagavatam 1:3, 1 through 5. Lord Mahapurusha is the support of material nature, and so he is described as the original source of the basic causes of creation. The 5 elements, 5 gross elements, and 11 senses. He performs his pastime of creation while lying in the ocean that fills the bottom half of the universe. From his navel appears a lotus stem. Sorry, one second. From his navel appears a lotus stem from which all the forms and configurations of material existence will be manifest, and at the top of the stem grows a flower where Brahma, the chief engineer of creation, is born. Brahma discovered inside the lotus stem of his birth the detailed plans of creation. Tadvilokya vyadvyapi pushkaram yad adhishtatam anena lokan praglinan kalpitam smitya chintayat. This is a long purport. We'll finish it. Maybe I'll skip the rest of the Sanskrit. Brahma saw that the lotus on which he was situated was spread throughout the universe, and he contemplated how to create all the planets which were previously merged in that very same lotus. Quote, thus engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma entered into the whorl of the lotus, and as it spread all over the universe, he divided it into 3 divisions of worlds and later into 14 divisions. In meditation, Brahma discovered the 1,000-headed Mahapurusha, who at first had been invisible to him from his lotus seat. He offered prayers to that Lord and made a special request. My dear Lord, may you come and live on my planet in this very form. Thus, the first Lord of creation became Brahma's constant guest. The Mahapurusha is called Vasudham, all pure, because even while giving shelter to the material energy, he remains untouched by the faults of matter. He is Sattvam, substantial. Okay, 1 second, Janaki. I'll be right with you. Just give me 2 minutes. 2 minutes. He is Sattvam, substantial reality, because he is the all-pervading absolute truth. He is an incarnation of Godhead. Okay. Just go sit on your chair.
We can stop now.
All right. We'll finish it next time. Yeah. All right, we'll stop at the Mahapurusha is Shuddham. Thank you, Guru. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.